We are live. Thank you guys for tuning in to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear having the conversations that you need to hear. We are the #1 conservative talk show in upstate New York and all of New York. Let's make it the whole country. You know, we're going to jump into here real quick. So if you're online listening to us, hit the like button, hit the share button, drop some comments. Every comment, every share, it really helps out a lot. Helps us get out to more people. And if you're listening to us on the radio, make sure you tell your friends, your family, your enemies, the people up the street, the people down the street. Tune in on Mondays, 2:30 to 4 p.m. to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams on 106.3 FM Rochester Free Radio, LP Rochester. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Let's jump into it. So let's start off with the continued persecution of Christians in America and around the world, because apparently people act like it's not happening. And it's a very serious situation with the continued attack on Christians. You'll say, Marcus, there's no attack on Christians. What do you mean there's no attack on Christians? Let's start. Yesterday was Palm Sunday, right, everybody? Okay, so that's when Jesus does his procession in on the donkey, and they put the palms before him, you know, the week leading up to his death, burial, and resurrection, you know? So it's very, very holy time of year for Christians, okay? Very, very, very important holiday, okay? Because what is a holiday? It's a holy day. That's what a holiday is. Holidays are holy days. So Palm Sunday is a very important holy day. We got Easter coming up here, okay? Saturday, this past Saturday, the Saturday before Palm Sunday is Lazarus Saturday, okay? So if you're Orthodox or Catholic, you might be familiar with that. Now, what's going on around the world? Well, let's start with our bestest friends and greatest allies in the world that we have, Israel, right? What did Israel do? Well, Israel shut down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, okay, which is where the tomb of Jesus is, right? So they shut it down and they said, oh, well, there won't be any services there or during Easter or any of that because, you know, security issues. Security issues from who? Who made that decision? You understand what I'm saying? And if Christians are more than happy to risk themselves to profess their belief in Christ, let them. You understand what I'm saying? What do you mean security risks? Right? Now, this is coming from the same Israel that has blown up Christian towns, okay, destroyed churches in Gaza and in Lebanon, destroyed Christian towns and are continuing to in Lebanon. But we don't talk about that. And they shut down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Okay, now, mind you, that this secular government of Israel, because they're not Jewish, they say that they are ethnically Jews, you know, European Jews, Khazarians, Ashkenazi. They're not even the Arabic ones from over there. What are they? Something with an M and an I. I forget how you pronounce it. Whatever. But, you know, they say, oh, well, you know, we're okay with all of the Christians and stuff like that, but we're Jews. You're not Jews. You're a secular nation that promotes all types of crazy debauchery, depravity, abortion, transgenderism, and all other types of nonsense. You telling me that that's Jewish? That's Judaism? That's from the Hebrew religion that is of the Old Testament? Hey, I see you out there, Nyla. Thank you for saying hello. Drop some comments below. I'll pop them up on the screen as they come in. So as we have these conversations, we have to remember that Israel, while they claim to be our ally and stuff like that, they are their own nation state. I need you to understand that very clearly. I think that gets lost because people are like, oh, well, they're so much of our ally or whatever. They have their own personal interests. But that's not what I'm talking about, because a lot of people get into the weeds about this. They don't like them. They don't like the Jews or whatever the case is. That's not my concern. My concern is the issues with the nation state of Israel, okay? And the fact that they continue to go after Christians and Christianity. And we're not going to play like this church, shutting down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is some new thing in their continued attacks on Christians. They did it last year. Was it last year? A couple years ago, right before October 7th, right? Right before that happened, they had a bill that they were trying to put through in the Knesset. which is like their, I guess you would say, Congress, right? And the bill said that if you preached the gospel of Jesus Christ in Israel, that you'd go to jail for 10 years. What? Now, the same people that were trying to push that through, that didn't quite get through at that time, now here in America have pushed to pass a bill in Congress, in the United States Congress, that says that if you say that the Jews killed Jesus, that's anti-Semitism. What are we doing here? What are we really doing here? You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, let's go back to the nation state of Israel, because I don't want people to get it confused and think, oh, this is about the Jews or something like this. No, this is completely and 100% about the ruling class in Israel and 100% about the government in Israel. It's got nothing to do with so-called Jewish people or whatever. That is a completely separate conversation. As I pointed out directly, Israel is a secular nation, right? So when we see them shut down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and we don't say anything as Christians, what are we doing? Oh, well, it's for our own good because we might get hurt. Really? That's what you're going to go with? Like during COVID, when they told you to shut down your churches because the government said stay 6 feet apart, but the liquor stores are open and all of these other things are open. The dispensaries are open, but you can't go to church. You understand what I'm saying? Like y'all bought into that nonsense. Like, don't let these people play in your face. Like, oh, it's for safety when Israel has been bombing Christian churches and Christian villages. Explain it to me like I'm 5. Are they blowing up those places for Christian safety? Tell me that you really honestly believe that Israel cares about the safety of Christians. They don't. They're a secular nation, okay, largely based in pagan nonsense, right? Like, you can't even really consider them to be representative of the Jewish people because they don't practice what we would consider to be of the book. So what are we doing? This isn't a direct attack on Christians. And it's something continuing. And I'll point this out, right, to everybody that'll say, oh, well, they're Jews and we should hug on them and love on them and all of this nonsense. Let's be very clear about the history of Israel, right? And go look this up, right? Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go look it up. A couple years ago, okay, they forced sterilized almost 30,000 Ethiopian Jews. Let me say that again. A couple years ago, Israel, this government that you guys keep telling me is so all about Jews and stuff like that, forced sterilized almost 30,000 Ethiopian Jews. You know, people that are darker, that actually have ties to the land and the area over there, they forced sterilize them. And they're Jewish. So you mean to tell me that they do that to other Jews, but they love Christians so much? Stop playing in my face. Stop playing in my face. And that in and of itself is the problem, because what we're not doing is disconnecting the fact that that is a foreign nation state from the fact that being a Jew or being so-called Jewish, I'm using air quotes if you listen to me on the radio, has nothing to do with the nation state of Israel, the people that are in control of Israel, their government, or their elites. You can question the elites and those in government here in the US, but you can't question the government and those there in Israel? Make that make sense to me. You understand? Like, these are important conversations we need to have. But let me get back to it for the people that are just joining you. What I'm on about is the continued attacks on Christians across the world. So what happened Sunday is, prior to that, Israel closed down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is where Jesus's tomb is, okay, in Jerusalem. And when they did that, they said it's going to be closed from essentially until after Easter, right? So that means we don't get Palm Sunday. That means that we don't get Easter either. And Cardinal Pizzaballa, I love his name, it just sounds so funny, but Cardinal Pizzaballa was denied entry to one of our holiest of holy sites. Like, are you serious? Because security, I'm using air quotes again, security my hindquarters. They don't care about the security of Christians. They spit at Christians over there, okay? They beat on Christians over there, but we can't talk about that. We got to pretend like that doesn't happen, Okay? They have been systematically attacking the church over there in Israel for decades, and it has accelerated over the last couple of years. Again, you don't have to believe me, okay? Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you, and go look it up. They've been stealing the lands of the church over there in Israel. Go look it up. They've been stealing it. The Israeli government has been stealing the lands of the Christians in Israel. Go look it up, okay? And they've been treating them terribly bad. Even Mike Huckabee has complained about it, who is the American ambassador to Israel. Okay. They've gotten many notices from the pontiffs of Jerusalem and stuff like that, as well as even the Catholic Church, Vatican proper. You know? So this is an important conversation. Drink water, stay hydrated. But this is an important conversation. Then we go over to see what happened on Palm Sunday in Africa. Let's talk about that. So what happened on Palm Sunday in Africa? Well, there were a number of attacks on Christians throughout Africa on Palm Sunday. Again, one of our holiest days of the year. So this is very, very important. Nigeria, they slaughtered hundreds of Christians. Is it in the news? Did you hear that in the news? That on Palm Sunday, just yesterday, in Nigeria, hundreds of Christians were slaughtered? Did you hear that? No. Okay, and we're being slaughtered in Africa by these Muslim terrorists, extremists. But you can't even really call them extremists or terrorists because that's what Muslims do. And some people will say, oh, well, that's not nice to say that. That's what their religion is about. It's about conquest through iron and fire. That's what they believe in. Like, and honestly, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that that's, as a man, as a grown man, I think that that makes sense to me. You're about conquest through iron and fire? Makes sense to me. But let's not sit here and play in my face like that. That's not what you're about. Oh, it's the religion of peace. Yeah, because their desire of peace is to convert the whole world to Islam. And if you don't convert, you get murdered. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people will say, oh, well, the Crusades, they did terrible things in the Crusades. Well, why did the Crusades get launched to begin with? The Crusades got launched because the Muslims were conquesting and destroying and raping and pillaging Christian lands in North Africa, in the Levant, and in Europe. Like, why are we sitting here playing like that did not happen? Like, that is a very, very, very important and pointful thing to note. But we've got all of this nonsense where, you know, oh, don't say this because it might offend somebody. How is the truth going to offend you when it's history? Like, this isn't something that happened last week. This is something that happened hundreds of years ago. The religion is what? How old is Islam? Not that old. I think 6th century AD. Okay. They just got here. But since they got here, they've been killing up everybody and taking up everybody else's stuff. Okay. But we can't talk about that, right? They don't want you to talk about that. Oh, be nice, be kind. Be kind to who? The people that are the enemy of Jesus Christ? The people that hate my religion? The people that'll tell you that, oh, if you have a dog, you can't have a dog, and they'll try to beat you or kill your dog or kidnap your dog and kill it? Like, what are we doing here? Like, are we being really serious? Like, I don't think we're having real conversations, you know? And until we can acknowledge that these things are all true, we're going to continue to be having problems and issues, especially with Islam. And that's something that's real deal Holyfield. We as Christians have gotten too complacent with being like, oh, it's okay for us to just look the other way at the enemies of Christ. Those who deny the divinity of Jesus Christ, we have no business having any level of fellowship with. Do not be unequally yoked. The Bible is very clear about that. It's not just about marriage. It's about interpersonal relationships as well. And we need to recognize that. And we need to stand up now more than ever, because it's like all of this stuff is going on all around the world. We even have what's going on in China where they're killing and crucifying Christians. They're stealing their organs and all of that. But we don't even talk about that. And we're supposed to be, oh, all lovey-dovey with China. As far as I'm concerned, China should be blown to bits. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, maybe not blown to bits, but turned to glass. Nobody got no time for that. Okay? Like, we can't have these real conversations. These people are the enemies of Christ, and we need to start identifying it. And we need to start calling it out. Because there are other Christians who are more than happy to carry water for these people that deny the divinity of Jesus Christ. And it is beyond me. It's beyond me. This is a weakness and a virus that has invaded the body of Christ, and it must be purged. It's real serious. And while we're talking about things that need to be purged, and maybe we'll get back on this topic in a second, we need to talk about the Republican Party. Because Lord have mercy, what is going on in the Republican Party right now? Look at what's going on with Congress, right? We see Congress is essentially in a stalemate over the Save America bill. We can barely get the funding for the Department of Homeland Security and all of this other stuff and whatnot that's going on. But why? Where are the Republicans standing up at, right? Like, all in unison. You mean you can't get all of the Republicans on the same page to stand up for voter ID? Who's stupid? Who's stupid? What's Senator Thune got going on up there in Congress? Now everybody's gone home for recess. They get 2 weeks of recess. That's nonsense. They need to be in Washington until they resolve the SAVE Act and what's going on with DHS. Now, they've given some of the partial funding to DHS and some other stuff. And frankly, it's about a bunch of buck. You understand what I'm saying? It's nonsense. It's nonsense what's going on up there. And they continue to disservice the American people because they'd rather pass nonsense bills that do nothing, like naming post offices and all types of stuff, instead of doing the work of the American people, while the American people are clamoring for simple things like voter ID. Make it make sense. It's real simple. You know, somebody is out there talking about Iran will win. I'm going to get to you, crazy cuckoo, in a minute. Okay. So let's talk about this some more with the whole thing with Congress, right? They're out there doing a lot of what? Now they're going back to their districts. They're supposed to be in their districts talking to their constituents or something. Every single Republican that is in their district needs to be at their doors, okay, demanding that they go past the SAVE Act. Now the president wants to take the SAVE Act and he wants to add in there no transgender child mutilation. Okay, he wants to add in there a couple of other things as well, but no men in women's sports and no men in women's bathrooms, which we shouldn't even, this is how far we have fallen as a nation, that this even needs to be talked about, to be put into any bill. How have we as a society and a culture fallen so far that these things that should be societal norms are being disrupted by these crazy extremists that are in other levels of government, like New York State government, in the state assembly, in the state senate, in my city council? Because in Rochester, where I live, they passed a bill last year that said that men can be in the bathroom and shower facilities with little girls and women. Like, what type of evil nonsense, anti-Christian garbage, anti-female garbage are you on about? Like, but this is what these people are doing. And they're being allowed to do this because people are not standing up. And it's time that we stood up. It really is. We have to stand up now, because it's not going to be a later if it keeps going on like that. Okay? We need to have these conversations right now, and we need to demand action. Like the Bible says, you know, pray and take action, but it's the take action part that people forget about all the time. They'll pray and they hope that somebody comes from the sky to save them, or somebody comes out the ground to save them, or somebody comes in on a white horse to save them. Nobody is coming. Nobody is coming. It is up to us. We have to stand and contend for the Lord. That's what Jude 1:3, I believe. 1:3, 1:4, right in that area right there in the Bible. Go look it up. So this is what's important. And nobody is standing on business, and it is a serious problem. It is a very, very serious problem. because we got these people in our society right now that are pushing against everything that our society and mankind has been about for eons, right? For eons. You mean to tell me that people think that men should be in the bathroom with little girls that are not their family members? I mean, heck, most people wouldn't want men that are their same family members in the bathrooms with little girls. What are we doing here? What are we doing? These are serious, serious issues, you know? And we need to have a conversation. And I really want to know where all the Christians are and why the Christians aren't standing up against all of this nonsense. The whole body of Christ needs to get activated right now. And I rebuke all of you that are Christian, that are sitting on your couches or complaining into your phones or complaining on the internet. You need to stand up. Find your strength and contend for the Lord. Again, Jude 3:4, right there. Jude 1:3-4, one of those two verses right there. Go look it up. It's up to us because nobody else is going to. And we keep wondering why things are getting worse and worse. And then we might think that, oh, well, something's happening. There's a little bit of something is changing. Is it changing for the better? Like, these are my questions. What do you really think is changing for the better? Right now, we got a president in there that a lot of people like. And that's awesome because he's really out there championing a lot of the policies that I like. But the fact of the matter is Trump is one guy. You know, he can't do it himself. And this is something that really needs to be discussed. We've got these people in Congress that are sitting on with their thumbs up their bums and nothing's happening there. We got these people in these different state levels of government that are passing laws that are destroying our states. Look at California. Look at all the $9, $10 gas, right? Like, and this is before the issue with Iran, right? Like, this is before that. Why? Because of terrible policies coming out of the government in California that have created it to be a hostile industry against gas production and against oil production, which is crazy because they're one of the largest gas, but really oil producing states in the country. Why would you hobble your own industry? Why are you making it so cost prohibitive to do business there? Shell was there and they left, okay? Like, these are really serious issues that we need to address. We've got New York State, where I live. Every other day, they're pushing some new nonsense, ridiculous bill trying to destroy our economy, destroy our food supply, destroy our energy supply. All of this nonsense. And it's a problem. And we have to stand up as our citizens that care about where we live, you know, and then there'll be people that say, oh, well, you know, with everything that's going on, we should just go to another state. Go to another state and what? Go to another state and do what? Let's look at, for instance, Florida, right? Let's look at, for instance, Texas. Let's look at, for instance, Tennessee. 3 traditionally strong Republican states that are starting to look more and more like Colorado every year. And I say Colorado because it wasn't but maybe 20, 30 years ago that Colorado was a very strong Republican state, very red, the whole state red. This wasn't a long time ago. And then you got these people that were leftists and Democrats moving from the states that destroyed their policy, got destroyed by the policies of the left, and they moved all to Colorado. And now they're out there in Colorado destroying their policies and destroying their state. Then they moved to Florida and Nashville, okay? That's Tennessee. They moved to Florida. They moved to Texas, you know? And then they pulled their nonsense leftist ridiculousness down there. Now Houston is blue. Dallas is blue. Trash, trash, and more trash. You know, Miami just flipped blue for the new mayor. 30 years it's been Republican. Why is that happening? Because Republicans will leave a state, they'll leave and move to somewhere else, and they won't actually stand up and start to fight back, build the resources, build the community, build the army that we need to form a beachhead to push back against the leftists in other parts of our nation. They just get there to these other states and they're like, oh, well, you know, I've reached Shangri-La, or I've reached the promised land and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to put anything in. I don't have to put any effort in. Everything will be fine. No, it won't. It's just a matter of time. Leftism, Marxism, socialism, communism, all of it is completely a virus that is spreading through the airwaves, through the internet streams, every day across our nation. And it grows stronger as conservatives and Christians and Republicans refuse to stand because they feel safe in their little areas that they're in or whatever. Drink water, stay hydrated. And this is important to have a conversation about because nobody wants to when we need to now more than ever. And it's very upsetting, right? Because you're like, well, how much more solid red states could we have if the Republicans that moved to all these other states would actually start to go there, get active, stand up, and push back to prevent anything from moving in there that would be leftism, right? So disgusting, makes you want to spit. But this is the problem. This is the continued issue that we have in our nation. You know, I love the Republican values and philosophies and the fact that Republicanism is based on conservatism and constitutionality. But where is the backbone? That's my question. You guys are tuned in to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear on 106.3 FM WRFZ LP Rochester Free Radio. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit the share button, hit the like button, get this out there. Share with your friends, your family, your enemies, some groups that you know, some people you don't know. And let's have these important conversations. So let's get back to it. Let's see. We got a whole bunch of nonsense coming in here. Blah, 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 blah. We got a whole bunch of people saying a whole bunch of dumb stuff. Let's see. Somebody says, let's see, this is a good comment. A lot of the bigger cities, even in red states, have been blue or purple for a while. So this is a very good point right there. So that's what people are not paying attention to. So people aren't paying attention to a lot of these areas. Like I'll give you one, for instance. There's a town not too far from me, Gates, right? Gates, New York. They're pretty red, right? They've got Republicans across the board. But here's the deal. The town is turning very, very purple. It's almost turned blue. As a matter of fact, I believe it actually technically is blue, but the Republicans just vote there more. And this is a problem. So you explain to me what the Republicans are doing to shore that area up. Explain it to me. That's not even, I'm in Gates a lot. I love Gates, right? Like it's a second home to me. I feel very welcome there, you know, but it's probably a 10-minute drive from where I am now, maybe 15 traffic, you know. What are the Republicans there doing to shore up that area? You know, and that's something that we need to look at. We really, really, really need to take, I would say account, but it's less of account. It's more of inventory. We need to take inventory on what we have, what's working, where it's working, and how it can be improved, you know, because people right now that are Republicans are like, I don't care anymore. Nothing is different. Nothing is getting changed. So I don't really feel the need to do anything. Or they feel, oh, well, it's so bad that I can't do anything anyway. And people say stuff like that all the time. You know, they'll say that your vote doesn't count. Your vote doesn't matter, you know, and or they cheat anyway, or whatever the case like that. You hear all this all the time when it comes to elections. But what really is the issue is we need to get out in numbers, because I know so many people that say, oh, I don't vote because my vote doesn't count. That's nonsense. Every vote counts. Every single vote counts. And if you want to make sure that there is a solid win, you need to go get out there and get active. You need to put your feet on the ground and go knock some doors, make some phone calls, whatever you can do to help good candidates. Now, I'm not going to sit here and play with you and tell you that all the candidates on the Republican field across the country are great. Some of them are really trash, and some of them are even actual Democrats, you know? Like we just saw that in North Carolina, okay? Or maybe that was South Carolina. No, that was North Carolina. Okay, North Carolina. We saw that in Texas. Like these open Democrats are saying, oh, well, we're going to run as Republicans, even though we're really Democrats. Okay. And what's being done about that? You know, there's nobody else. There's this one crazy Muslim lady wearing a whole, what do you call it? A niqab, right? Not a hijab, a niqab. That's the whole thing, the blackout thing. Okay. That was one of the people in North Carolina, her and this other white lady. So she ran as a Republican, clearly not a Republican. Okay. Then she won the primary and she's unopposed. So she's going to win. Now, what are we doing? What are we doing as a party? Right? You understand what I'm saying? So I'll bring that back to where I am. Right? So I'm in a deep blue area. Right? And it's getting bluer and bluer every year. Right? And we've got a whole bunch of people that have just recently come over to the party that are trying to tear the party apart on the inside. You understand what I'm saying? Like, what are they doing? What is the benefit? Where is the benefit to the party? Like, what are we doing? You know, and they're trying to turn people against each other and all of this and all of that just to make a name for themselves, just to act like they're doing something when they're not really doing anything positive for us. They're looking out for themselves and not actually championing conservative values and standing on business. You know, a lot of people are in such a rush to look for a savior. They follow people like Nick Fuentes, who I've been saying from the beginning was a piece of excrement and garbage and was working for the Democrats and was working for the opposition. And people are like, no, that's not happening. That can't be. That's not happening. No, he's America first. He's this, he's that. Oh, and now what is he saying? Oh, all the Republicans should vote Democrat, Nick Fuentes is saying. So I guess, you know, I was right the whole time on that nonsense, right? Like I warned people about this. Nobody wanted to listen because everybody wanted a savior so bad. But you're following these people that are leading you astray because you're so desperate for a savior, for anybody that looks like a brief glimpse of light. And that's the problem with the party as the Republicans, right? That's my issue with the whole Republican Party right now. Why isn't the party, the whole of the party, standing on business? You know, and then when you get candidates and stuff that stand on business like Wesley Hunt in Texas and stuff like that, you push other people. You know, you push other people. Why is that? Because the establishment runs stuff. You got all of these crazy people, okay, that just don't want to push just want to toe the line, or they want to push their own agendas or whatever. Then you got the people that are underneath that want to push their personal interests, okay, and that's a serious problem. And we got all of these things coming together at one time, and it's all starting to come to a head. Somebody said trusting a politician in general was your first mistake. No, it's not about trusting a politician. See that now you're missing the point. That is important because I talk about that very frequently, how I don't understand how everybody all of a sudden trusts the government, right? Like, I don't care who's in the office of the government. I don't trust the government. No matter how much no matter how much you distrust the government, you don't distrust the government enough, period, point blank. And this is from all of the declassified information that we know that we know. You know, they just found that they just had some declassified information the other day that came out that said that, oh, well, the CIA was experimenting with putting mind control stuff in vaccines. I said, what? The CIA was experimenting with putting mind control stuff in vaccines. Now, this was back decades ago, like in the 60s. So imagine where they are and how far along they are with that type of programming now. Just imagine. And where do we talk about that at? Nowhere, you know, nowhere. And we need to talk about it now because look at what just happened with COVID, where they tried to force all of those shots on everybody. Like, hello, stop trusting the government. The government does not care about the people. And this is where I want to get into the whole thing with the No Kings protesters and stuff like that. I see you there, Nate. Nate, thank you for tuning in. You guys hit the like button, hit the share button. It doesn't cost you anything. Share this out there, get the message out there, share it to some groups, share it on your page. And don't forget to drop a comment, because every single comment helps the algorithm a lot. And if you guys want to support the station, you can go to patreon.com and you can go to Rochester Free Radio. The station is working on raising some funds. I believe they're working on raising about $5,000 more for the station, because we are sponsored by viewers like you. Also, if you want to support the show itself, you can check out either side of the screen right here or down below, depending on which frame you're looking at it from. So let's get back into it. Now, as we have this conversation with why we shouldn't trust the government, we have all of these no kings protesters and ninnies out here, right? And I know somebody's gonna be like, oh, why are you being so contemptuous of them, or whatever the case is. Milo said, I just arrived. Milo, I'll give you a shout out too, okay? Thank you for commenting, okay? So we have all of these nonsensical people that are no kings, right? Now, I want to know where the no kings protests were during the Biden administration when they were doing a whole bunch of stuff unilaterally outside of Congress. You guys know I'm not a big fan of Congress, but I'm also not a big fan of executive orders either, okay? That's a serious issue. My issue with Congress is that they don't do nothing. My issue with executive orders is that they do not stand up for actual law, because they are only temporary as long as the president is in there, and those type of things need to get pushed through law. And also all of the additional regulations that were put in underneath the Biden administration, which nobody wants to talk about. Then they get mad at people like Trump. Oh, the ICE, look at ICE and what they're doing. Well, they're following the same programming that was in place under Biden, the same programming that was in place under Obama. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. None of the procedures have changed. None of the protocols have changed, you know? But now all of a sudden it's a problem, and it's not really a problem. What it is it's a good campaign issue, right? We talked about this a little while ago. It's a good campaign issue for Democrats to get out and trot about and say, oh, look at this. We care about this. We care about this. They don't care about you. They don't care about nothing. They care about staying in power. Okay. The government is the government is the government. Okay. All of these clowns. Let me give you the best example I can give you. One of the best examples I can give you of the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party is all of these crazy people out here talking about tax the rich, right? Tax the rich this, tax the rich that. Do you guys know that the president had a press conference where he said that he'd be happy to tax the rich, and he'd even be happy to pay more taxes himself if it were to help more people, and he would like to work on something like that? Did you know that Trump did that? Yeah, Trump said that he would actively tax the rich. And do you know that none of the Republicans supported him on that? That none of the Democrats supported him on that? No, AOC wasn't anywhere to be found. What's her name? Elizabeth Warren wasn't anywhere to be found. No Bernie Sanders. Okay. None of them. Nowhere to be found. That woman from Wisconsin, whatever her name is, I forget her name. You know, none of these people that are always out here screaming tax the rich, when Trump said that he was willing to tax the rich, none of them showed up or showed support for any of that. Make it make sense. Either you believe it when you said it, you believe it now, or you don't believe it at all. And the fact of the matter is all they do is they talk a good game, but they don't actually mean it. They don't mean it. It's a problem, you know? And if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, okay? That's important, and it don't cost you nothing. So as we talk about these various issues with the hypocrisy in government, the Democrats are the biggest hypocrites that there are. You know, even when the Republicans are promoting stuff that they say that they care about, they don't want to do anything about it. Another example would be the bill that Anna Paul Luna and AOC got together and worked on, where they wanted to cap the credit card rates at 10%, right? Where were the rest of the Democrats supporting that? None of the rest of the Democrats wanted to support that bill to cap credit card interest rates. Why didn't they want to do that? Then Trump got up there and he was like, I'll help cap interest rates on credit cards. Where were the Democrats on that? So don't let these people play in your face like they actually care when they really, really don't. They don't care. And this is my issue with the No Kings protest, right? Like, what do you even mean no kings? It started off with the hands-off rallies and the 51 people, okay, talking about hands off this, hands off that, da, 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 da. It's marketing, you guys. There is no substance there whatsoever. That's why they get these people from all different places. The people that are like, save the tree frogs, and the people that are like, I want lemon soda on Tuesdays, and the people that are like, veganism is life, and all of these keep the immigrants people, and all of these people are all about completely different issues. None of them see the same on everything eye to eye, but they want to try to bring them together in hate and consolidate that hate in relation to Donald Trump, right? To activate those people so that they'll fight back against Donald Trump and his administration, which they call fascist, except they're the fascists because I lived through COVID when they were setting up checkpoints for people's vax passes, and they're to violate HIPAA laws completely, and they wouldn't let you into supermarkets or go to gym without showing your vax passes, or even go to the hospital, and they were turning people away from serious treatments and wouldn't give them organs if they did not get those shots. And then you got the audacity to say that this man is a fascist? Man, please. Drink water, stay hydrated. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous and reprehensible. But this is what we have to deal with. And then people will say, oh, well, with the hands-off rallies or the no kings rallies, oh, it's about protecting our democracy and this and that. From what? From what? What king? You understand what I'm saying? The Democrats are fighting Trump tooth and nail on absolutely everything. They've got him tied up in judicial and lawfare work all up the wazoo. Okay, they're fighting him in Congress, not allowing the Republicans to pass anything. Okay, and you're talking about you got a king? Explain to me and show me what he is unilaterally doing that you're so mad about. Then they got the crazy people out there in the handmaids outfits. Oh, we're not going back. You're not going back to what? To what? What is it that you're not going back to? Like, this is crazy. Like, in the same people that are like, oh, well, he's going to make it the handmaid's tale. Have women lost rights yet? No. Is he talked about taking any rights away from women's? No. If anything, he's out here trying to protect women's rights, trying to protect their private spaces and their bathrooms and their ability to have their own dressing rooms and not have to be surrounded by men and stuff like that. Like, stop it. Like, most of his cabinet is women. You know, like, this is serious. And then they're like, oh, well, he hates gay people. He's the president to have the most gay people in his cabinet. Now, I'm not saying that like it's a good thing. I'm just stating that as it's a fact. So can we have that conversation? No. Nobody wants to have that conversation because that'd be too much like right. Somebody said Biden hit it for 4 years. I don't know what you're talking about, but please elaborate in the comments and we'll try to talk about it. But this is serious, what's going on here. This is serious because these no kings protesters, okay, they call it no kings, not because we have a king, but because everything and every group of people that they have there are anti-Christians. All of those people hate Christians. And there is only one king, and that is King Jesus. Christ is king. Jesus Christ is king. He is the Lord of all, and he is the Lord our God on earth in the flesh. Okay? And if you don't know him as your personal Lord and Savior, I pray that you find him, okay, so that he can lead you closer to the Lord our Father in heaven. Okay? Please look into that if you're not saved and you're not familiar with Jesus. I'll try to give a little bit on the end about Jesus also. But this is important, right? Like, all of these people are pushing back against Jesus because what is Jesus about, right? He's about the truth. He's about the light. And he's about being the light. He's about giving people eternal life. And all of these people at these No Kings rallies, all they do is they push debauchery. They push alphabetism, they push transgenderism, they push a destruction and deterioration of social constructs, and they try to destroy the family. They want to promote abortions. They want to kill off the elders. That's eldercide. We got that. That's legal now in New York State. They call it medically aided induced death. They got all of these things that they're trying to push, and it's all the same people. All of it is anti-God. That's why they say no kings, because they are against Christ himself. And let's be very, very clear. Very, very, very clear. Excuse me, I got to blow my nose. So, as we have these important conversations about what's going on here, we need to make a couple of notes about what just happened with social media, with Google and Meta. So Google and Meta just had a court case, I believe it was California. Was it LA? I think it was in the county of LA. I'm pretty sure it was in the county of LA, where they lost a lawsuit that essentially put them on blame for this girl who had, I guess, been using Facebook and Instagram and Google, YouTube since she was like 13 or 14. And they said that that caused her all types of trauma and all types of duress and all this and all of that. I'm not here to adjudicate the case whether or not I believe in it or not. That's the point. The result is they found in the girl's parents' house. So now that means that Facebook and Google, the Facebook, I believe it took 60% of the, or 65% of the blame, and Facebook was, and YouTube was 35% of the blame. So it's interesting because now with those numbers from this court case, how will that change the algorithms and stuff like that? They said that would be because of things like endless scrolling and stuff like that, and it was giving the little girl all of these different things about it promoting body dysmorphia and all types of health issues with like eating habits and stuff like that. I don't know how true it is. I do know that some of these algorithms are really, really serious, and they do try to promote all of these different types of products and storylines to you with the advertising. And they're selling your data, all of your data, all the time. And it's becoming a real, real problem. A real, real problem. Somebody said in relation to the No Kings protest, they said, to be fair, people at the No Kings demonstrations are a range of party affiliations, including Republicans. No, that's not true. Registered Republican maybe doesn't make them an actual Republican. The issue with that is that they're united in hate, and that's the problem. They hate God, they hate Jesus, and they hate our country. And they fellowship with people that want to destroy our nation. And that's that simple. You saw yesterday, if you saw the day before yesterday, Saturday, you know, you saw all of these people out there. Funny, it's Saturday, the day before Palm Sunday, right? Because we can't talk about that, right? How it's specifically chosen because it's the day before Palm Sunday, you know, but that's okay. So they had all these crazy cuckoos out there. They had the communists out there. They had the socialists out there talking about death to America, down with America, along with these crazy Muslim people that are either Saracens from over there from the sand countries, okay, or from other areas over there in the Middle East, and these crazy so-called pro-Palestinian people, which are really anti-American domestic terrorists that are traitors to our nation that need to be held accountable, and they need to be put in prison, charged with treason, and they need to be summarily executed. This is a fact. This isn't something that's a fun thing to talk about. This is what's legitimately happening in our nation right now. And we need to have these serious, serious conversations. Somebody said our country is becoming like Sodom and Gomorrah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's because of all of these godless heathens, okay? These heathens, the Saracens that are promoting all of this nonsense to destroy our country. It's all intentional. And I have a video on, if you guys are following me on Facebook, I believe it's on my Facebook page, of the so-called pro-Palestine people out there talking about that they're here to destroy our country from within, and they're working on it, and they're gaining prominence and stuff like this. This was in a rally in Philadelphia. So that's a real video. I don't have it on my YouTube. I don't think. I'm going to try to pop it on my YouTube. It'll be a short. We'll see about getting that up there in the next couple of days. But this is serious, and this is what's going on in our nation right now. And they promote, you see all these flags out here for alphabetism and stuff like that, the LGBTQ3 plus D and all this other nonsense. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. So why is that associated with that? Again, they're just trying to unite all of these people that would be considered leftists and Marxists and would be open to their social ideology, okay, to destroy our nation from within for the enemies of the United States of America, specifically the Marxist countries, China, okay? Like, we're not going to pretend like almost all of this is not to do with China. You've got two main aspects of it, China, okay, and the Muslims, okay, the Islamists, the Mohammedans, right? Those are the two main aspects there. You got a third aspect, which is the international cabal that is against all of the people in the world. But we can't even get to deal with that because we got to China in loans. When if you see, I believe international cabal is the Chinese narrative and the all of them. These people and banking like and the royalties of the world and stuff like that are all working together. People, yeah. It's very important that we understand there are biggest serious people behind us that do not want to see America prosper. They do not want to prosper. They want to see the country torn down. They want to see the country hurt. And they want to erase the power of the United States. We're the last bastion of safety for all the people in the world. The last bastion of resistance. And they're probably going to come to start killing more of us off. COVID was just a test trial run. They estimate right now about 15% of the American population are resistive to the authoritarianism that is being pushed on a world scale and the globalism and stuff like that. And we're not talking about these no kings people, okay, because they don't care. They'll fall right in line with it. We already saw how they actually believe in during COVID, right? They'll fall right in line with all of it because, you know, it's for the greater good. The next thing that's going to come up is going to be climate and energy shutdowns, right? Because, oh, we need to conserve energy because it's for the environment, or, oh, it's because we don't have much energy. Well, why did you shut down all the energy plants? Why did you force everybody to go to electric? Why are you getting rid of natural gas? Why are you doing all these things that are harmful that would put us into a worse situation when none of it was necessary to do to begin with? Why would you set us up like that? Right? And that's what's being done right now. Hit that like button, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. Okay? And it helps the algorithm. Drop some comments because this is very important. And we need to remember that right now, with all of these people that are in power around the world, around the globe, we just have to take 2 seconds and look at what happened in Europe with all of these Mohammedans and sand people going all over there. And the North Africans too. Most of the North Africans are sand people anyway. But yeah. And I say sand people because they're from the sand countries, right? And you wonder why these people are from sand countries when these countries didn't used to be sand. That's because they have a curse on them from God. Wherever they go, they destroy all of the land. The land is destroyed. So this is a very serious thing. And that's why it's important to talk about it. Somebody said something. I'm trying to read what they said. It's hard to read what they said. Okay, here it goes. So it says the country had been Sodom and Gomorrah for a while. If we want to be honest and away from what God wants us to be. Well, that's why we need to return to Christ, and we need to declare our nation to be under the protection and leadership of Jesus Christ, and we must turn to God and repent. And in that way, we can get restoration in our nation, and we can prevent calamity. That's what we have to do. Excuse me, I gotta blow my nose. It's dusty in here. Maybe I shouldn't have turned that fan on, but it's too hot not to have the fan on, you guys. So anyway, as we have these different conversations about what's going on, I do want to get back to the meta thing, because we know how these algorithms are harming people. The algorithms really are encouraging people to do endless scrolling, to do stuff that's not good for them. And you look at TikTok as an example. Now it's owned by Israel and the United States. I got a lot to say on that, but I'll leave that alone. But now that it's owned by Israel and United States, they've changed the algorithm for that somewhat. It'll be interesting to see how that'll work out. But you can't say anything bad about Israel on there. It'll take all your videos down. You can't say anything about them at all, which is crazy. They barely don't even want you preaching the gospel on there anymore. And that's a whole nother problem. I'm not going to talk about it. But I bring that up because look at the algorithms and stuff that were on TikTok before that were promoting all of this nonsense of destroy the bathrooms. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. There was this thing that was a fad where they wanted you to go destroy the bathrooms in the school, a TikTok trend and stuff like that in your school, or eat Tide Pods, right? Like who's doing that? Like who's promoting that? How is that even a thing? Eating Tide Pods? Craziness. And all types of other stuff. That's where the whole push to steal vehicles and stuff like that for kids and stuff came from too, all on TikTok. So I mean, like we have to be very mindful of what's out there. And if you're a parent, you need to be more privy to what's going on. I know it's hard, you know, because of the day and age that we live in, but maybe raise your children better and look at who they're around. Because the fact of the matter is, people are not good. People are not good. You kind of want to hope and pray that they're better, but you really kind of got to mind who your children are around, find out what's going on in their schools. That's why they got rid of the phones in the schools where I live, because they don't want you to know what's going on in the schools. They don't want you to know about the violence that's going on in the schools. They don't want you to know that the teachers are encouraging boys to be girls and girls to be boys and teaching all types of perverted nonsense. They don't want you to know that they're pushing Islam in schools right now. They don't want you to know that here where I live. That's happening here where I live in Rochester, New York, in the RCSD right now. Right now. Okay. And that's a whole fact. So we really need to have a conversation about that. And it's a serious issue. It really, really, really is. At this point, what we're seeing most as a big issue with the algorithm is that it's continuously changing and modifying. And we have to start to ask ourselves, is it for us or is it for the marketing that they're trying to sell us? And for years, I've been saying, I'm warning about how it's getting better at manipulating us and coercing us, and we don't even see what the algorithms are doing, because what ends up happening is it'll just give you a little nudge here, a little nudge there, a little nudge there, and all of a sudden you're out in the middle of somewhere you never would have thought you would have been. So this is something that's worth talking about. It really is. And now, every now and then the algorithm might work in your favor or whatever the case is, but really, I'm concerned that the algorithms are getting very close to being the hand of God. And you look at that with what's going on with AI and stuff like that. AI isn't really artificial intelligence, right? Like some of it is baby artificial intelligence, but most of it is large language models, LLM and stuff like that, or predictive precedents and stuff like that. So when it comes to having those conversations, we see that it's not that means that somebody has to teach it different ways and different things to do. But at the end of the day, what we end up seeing happening is it's getting so good at predictively analyzing things and your behavior. They know how to manipulate you. They can influence you to go buy Panera bread and you don't even like bread. You're gluten free. You know, they might be able to influence you to go buy a Hyundai and you don't even like foreign cars. So, but these are just some simple things that they're doing with these different algorithms and stuff as far as basic marketing. How much more so could they really be like the hand of God and coerce you into different types of behaviors, into different movements and stuff like that? As I said earlier, with the CIA and it coming out that the CIA was doing tests on putting mind control in vaccinations, like, you think that if they'll do that, that they won't do other stuff with just some algorithms on the computer? Like, come on. Like, did we learn nothing from the Matrix? Like, hello? Sometimes I really, really wonder. Sometimes I really wonder. Drop some comments, drop some thumbs up, drop some American flags in the comments. All of that helps kick the algorithm to get it out to more people. Okay? Let's see. Somebody says, I love the stream, but I got to go in a pinch. All right. Have a good one, brother. I appreciate you tuning in. Or sister. I can't tell what that says, actually. But yeah. So I appreciate you all tuning in. Drop some comments. Let's see. Try to go through some of these comments here. Let's see. It's different if you grew up without the internet. It is true. It is different if you grew up without the internet. But now everybody's grown up with the internet. You know, everything is interconnected. And that's another thing that when we start talking about geopolitics and what's going on in places like Iran, people don't get it. I was trying to have a conversation with matter of fact, I wasn't even having a conversation with them. You know how some people come on your page or on your social media and they got the nerve and audacity to talk down to you like they even have any clue about what you're talking about? Yeah, that happened to me the other day. So I'm out here talking about the Iran, what's going on over there with Iran, with the Hormuz Strait, with the Strait of Hormuz, and all of this stuff, right? And how China has a lot to do with why we're over there, because China gets a lot of oil from them. They also have the Belt and Road Initiative going through there in Iran. And this was a way for us to help to combat China also, and how that's very, very important. And these people were talking all of this nonsense. Oh, well, this is about this, and it's about Israel, and this, that, and the third, da, da, da. I said, what are you talking about? I said, why is everything Israel with you people, right? Like, I understand you don't like Israel, blah, 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 Zionist, blah, 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 nonsense. I get you, right? But everything is not always about them. And because they're so super focused on that, they don't see how everything else connects together. And what's worse about that is because they don't see how everything else fits together, they can't actually call the Zionists or whoever or Israel or whatever they want to call them. They can't even call them out for the other stuff that they're doing because they have no clue what they're doing because they're not actually paying attention. Right? Like I talked about how a couple weeks ago when they were doing the thing with Venezuela, I was talking about how Israel is getting all of these different contracts for surveillance and stuff in Guyana, Colombia, and Venezuela now. Like, are they any of them talking about any of that? They don't talk about that because they don't know anything about nothing. You know, all they know is they don't like Zionists and they don't like Israel, and that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Don't let that cloud your judgment and cloud your analysis of things. Yes, Zionism is a bit of an issue. Yes, Israel has its own personal stuff that they want to get done because they're their own country. Okay? But no, that isn't the end all be all of everything. Like the whole thing with Iran, yeah, some of that does have to do with Israel. Okay? Yeah, Israel has been undermining a lot of the stuff we've been trying to do in Iran, and I'm not happy about it. But also, we're in Iran because it hurts China, and that's good for America. Hello, can somebody wake up now? You know what I'm saying? This is important. Like, and people talk about things so smallly, like it's not important at all, because they don't see the interconnectedness. Like, we talk about the gasoline prices and the oil prices and stuff like this. Kathy Hochul got on the TV the other day talking about, oh, I'm out here at a gas station. Look at how high gas prices have gone because of those Trump's war or whatever the case is. You didn't say word one about what happened to gas prices under Biden. I ain't never seen this woman out there talk about the gas price. And the gas prices were a whole dollar higher when Biden was in office. Okay? Can we talk about that? No, we can't talk about that because that'll be too much like right. And this is a serious, serious issue. Then she's out here talking all this nonsense. Now, mind you, she's the governor of New York State, right? She thinks she's a queen. Okay? Here's the issue. You're the governor of New York State, but the state assembly and the state senate has passed numerous laws making gasoline more cost expensive, right? They could get rid of the gas tax tomorrow, and then the gas tax will be down, and gas will cost less. I don't know what the gas tax is now, maybe 14 cents, 20 cents, whatever. They got a whole bunch of extra taxes on gas. They can lower that, and gas will be lower tomorrow. You think they're doing that? No. You think that New York not having an oil refinery, which is something that we need to produce gasoline, isn't adding to the cost of gasoline? Absolutely. If New York State, thank you for the flags, if New York State actually built a new oil refinery, our actual gas prices would drop precipitously. But can we talk about that? No. Because that's too much like a real solution or having a real conversation. And people don't want you to do that, especially those that are in power in the government, because they want to pass the buck off to somebody else. They want you to blame somebody else. They want you to hold somebody else accountable, because perish the thought that you ever actually hold the people that pass the laws and put the regulations in place that are making your life a miserable living hell, okay, that you actually hold the right people accountable, because then something might actually be able to change. Drop some American flags in the comments, hit the thumbs up, hit the share button, and if you want to support the show, check out the sides right there. That's somehow you can support the show, or down below, depending on which format you are, whether you're like this or like this. Okay? So this is important. New York State energy prices, and she had the nerve to go talk about energy prices. Oh, energy prices are higher. Yeah, you did that. You did that with your PLA nonsense, okay? Climate protection trash garbage, right? Now, I'm coming from that specifically as a fact that I'm an environmental conservationist, okay? And what they're doing to the environment with these solar panels, go put them all on our farmland, letting the poisonous stuff from those solar panels leach into our farmland, putting up all of these windmills and stuff like that. And remember, these things only last about 5 to 10 years, okay? And it's a scam, because they never generate the energy back that they're supposed to for the value of money that it costs to implement them. So that is a very important point of it. You're talking about you want to save the environment and all of this and all of that, but you've not talked about expanding nuclear development. All of the sudden, when the federal government, the DOE, Department of Energy, talks about, oh, well, we got some money to do some new nuclear. Now, all of a sudden, Governor Kathy Hochul's like, oh, well, maybe we should do something about nuclear. Well, you just shut down Indian Point, and what was the other one? 3 Mile Point, some other one. There's another one reactor that they tried to shut down. I don't know if they shut down the whole thing or only partially. But these are some serious issues, right? These are some serious issues that she's in control of. This is our governor in our state. She's in control of these issues. She doesn't have to put out all of these things for the windmills and for the solar panels and put all of our money into that instead of fixing our energy infrastructure and then maybe doing that, you know, because that might make too much sense. That might be too much like in the right order. Because, of course, we need to shut down all of our energy producing facilities before we have anything to offset that energy use while you're trying to make us consume more energy. Make it make sense. Then they shut down things like gas pipelines and stuff like that. When the gas pipelines are over 55% of the electricity that we generate, not for your heating and cooling for regular gas, not for your stove for your regular gas. I'm talking about we use in New York State gas to power turbines in energy plants to make electricity. But can we talk about that? No. And then solar is useless because we don't even have any battery storage. And now they've done shot themselves in the foot over battery storage, talking about, oh, well, we're not going to do any battery storage. You guys are useless. Like you guys have been like, there is no comprehensive thought as far as the structure of our energy future goes. Like it's a complete money grab. They're putting money in the pockets of their cousins, their friends, their investors, and that's all that it is. And in the meantime, the people in New York State suffer. And we're not the only ones. You can look at California. It's a similar thing there. You can look at Colorado and a number of other blue states. It's like that as well. Let's see if we hit some of these conversations here. Somebody says, yeah, brilliant. Right. That's why Trump don't like intelligent, educated individuals. You know, I can't comment on that. You know, I don't know, bro. I'm just speaking on exactly what I'm talking about right now in New York State with this governor here. Okay. And as far as I know, according to Trump, he's got all of the smartest people. The smartest people work for him. So I don't know. Oh, man. What was it? Oh, yeah, they just restarted 3 Mile Island. So if you guys aren't familiar, 3 Mile Island was allegedly the worst nuclear disaster that we had in the United States of America. Okay. And Microsoft bought it and they restarted the nuclear reactors, which means that you have to ask yourself, how bad really were these issues? If it was the biggest meltdown in American history, if they can buy it and restart the nuclear reactors. More so than that, do you know that the nuclear reactors at 3 Mile Island, like the 3 Mile Island incident happened before I was born, right? And they just shut down the last reactor there, like way long. I think it might have been the 80s or the 80s or the 70s even. It was a long time ago, right? But they didn't even shut down the reactors there until I believe 2005 was the last reactor. Don't quote me on that one. But yeah, so all of this type of stuff is going on and we're just being deceived by our government and by the people it was in the 80s and the people in power, right? It's all a money grab. It's all this, it's all that. It's however that they can get over on the people. And that's something that is very, very important. Very, very important. Now, somebody had mentioned insider trading. And let's be honest about insider trading. We see this especially with these different projects that happen on the state level, like what's her name's husband? I can't remember her husband's name. Kathy Hochul's husband, how he got all the money for his consulting firm for the Buffalo Bills stadium. Make it make sense. And why are we paying for a stadium anyway when the Buffalo Bills make billions of dollars a year and the family is super ultra rich and they can pay for it themselves? I don't want to pay for the Buffalo Bills stadium. No offense. I don't even go see football games. If you want to pay our state money to go build this stadium, how come we don't have free season passes as New York State residents? Especially if we're up here in upstate New York, make it make sense. Where's my free tickets? You understand? Like, this is important questions that we need to be asking. So the next thing I want to hit on, because we got a little bit of time left here, I want to hit on the fact that apparently we're going back to the moon, and now we've got the first woman and the first black person, or maybe it's the first woman and the first black woman. I don't know. It doesn't really make much sense to me, and I honestly could care less. But we got people that are about to go up in outer space and go around the moon. And right now they're in their, what they say, like decontamination area or whatever. I don't understand why they need to be in decontamination for so long or whatever. That sounds retarded to me because you're going in outer space. What are they going to infect outer space with a virus? Like, what? Explain to me what exactly is the point of that. But anyway, they're about to go circle around the moon, slingshot around the moon with Project Artemis, which is a bunch of trash and a waste of American taxpayer money anyway, because it costs too much. And NASA has really dropped the ball. NASA's given us some great inventions over the years, okay, including the microwave, which technically was the United States military, the Army, but that's a whole separate conversation, and Velcro. So, but anyway, now they're going back up there, whatever the case is, and they're just going to slingshot around the moon. For why? Just for proof of concept, I guess. But right now we have groups like SpaceX that are actively launching space shuttles into outer space and to the International Space Station. So why do we need a government private space program if we can just hitch a ride with them? These are important questions, and we need to be asking those questions, because as we prepare to go back to the moon, hello, my Polish American friend, as we prepare to go back to the moon, we need to see what we can do to protect the moon from everybody else. Now, I'm going to speak completely as an American right now. Okay. America runs outer space. We control outer space. We actually have a bill in Congress. I forget the name of it or the number. This happened a couple of years ago when I believe Clinton was in office. It might have been Bush the first. But when they were in office, it was a thing that was passed by Congress that basically said the United States controls all of outer space. And I love that for America. I really support that because I'm really pro-America. But honestly, China's really beating us out up there, okay? And we need to get back to it. We need to restore our illustrious, not just competitive nature, but our dominance, right? So we need to restore our dominance on the moon, under the sea, okay, on the mountaintop, everywhere. America, 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 okay? America only, okay? So I'm beyond America first. I'm America only. I'm not trying to hear nothing about nothing else. It's very important. So now we talk about the moon, and the moon has helium-2 on there that they say that can be used for energy to power different space shuttles or be brought back down to Earth and used for energy because it's an energy-dense material. I only have the general concept and understanding of what that is about. I'm not fully aware. Please do some study in there, and if you get a better concept, let me know, okay? Because I'm more on terrestrial-based energy type of stuff, but the helium-2 up there allegedly could power stations that could be put up there and different things. Right now, China's landed on the far side of the moon, and apparently we can't see on the far side of the moon, so China could be building bases and all types of stuff up there. We don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that the Nazis do have some bases up there, but that's a whole nother conversation about the Nazi space program, which we can't really talk about because, we brought in Operation Paperclip, we brought all the Nazi scientists over to the United States of America, and what's his name? Von Braun, who used to be the head of the NASA, okay, was a German Nazi scientist who had a whole plan to colonize Mars. So when you tell me that we didn't have the technology to do all of these things, I really don't believe anything that they say. And a lot of the stuff is all hidden and all of this other nonsense. And it's a real serious problem. But, when I speak about the moon and stuff like that, we just put like $50 billion, or maybe it was 500 billion. I think it was $500 billion. Go check it out. Okay. When Biden was in office for a moon train, bro, a moon train. Like, that's nonsense to me. I don't care about no train on the moon. Okay. Why we need a train on the moon? How the train gonna stay on the moon when it's low gravity? Why is that the preferred method of transport on the moon? I got so many questions, but more so than anything, I don't want to be funding something like that. And also, why do you need a moon train if we're not on the moon yet? So what is really going on? So there's a lot more that's going on there than we're actually being told about. And it's really important that we start to see more and more that a lot of this stuff where they talk about outer space is about defense. Okay? It's about defense and other resources because there are a lot of resources out there. Now, personally, you asked me about the moon. I can't tell you much about the moon. I personally don't believe that the moon is a piece of the earth. I believe that it is a whole space station that got destroyed in the last great war between heaven and the fallen angels. But that's a whole separate conversation. There's a lot of stuff with about the moon that ain't quite right, how it doesn't actually rotate or anything, and all the other bodies in space rotate, and all it does is what's called librotation, which is a funny word, but it's weird because it only shifts about 15 degrees maximum. So there's some weird stuff going on with the moon, or the fact that in the 80s when NASA, was it the 80s or the 70s? I believe it might have been the 70s. NASA hit it with a nuke, or maybe it was the military hit it with a nuke, doesn't matter. They hit it with a nuke and it rung like a bell for like hours. So what does that mean? Why is the moon ringing? You know, like questions. I got questions. Somebody's out here laughing. It is kind of funny to talk about, but these are real topics, and this is real stuff. Okay? Also, moon train. But I digress. A lot of this is about asserting dominance over the world and outer space and control. And we have to be understanding that just the level that things are at now, like Trump put in the Space Force, like that was something that was desperately needed. Because there's so much kinetic warfare that can be done in outer space, like serious issue. Like they'll take out space, what would you call them? Like they can take out space stations. They can take out different satellites and stuff like that. China's been working on machines to do that. If you ever saw that, what was that show? Space Force was the show, as a matter of fact. On Space Force was the show on what was that? HBO? I believe it was HBO. And they had it where were going back to the moon, and China had a spaceship out there that pulled the what do you call those things? The solar panels off of one of the satellites of the of the Americans, and that was funny. And they were like, "What is going on here?" So that's funny, but that's like real life. That's where we are right now, and we have to understand that this is real stuff. It's not abstract. It is the next movement for the future of where we are going, and we need to be attentive to it. But all of this connects back, like I said, everything is connected, and all of it connects back to what's happening here on land right now. Okay? This is a long-term war against China and against them trying to reassert their dominance over America and the rest of the world. Okay? That's what their plan is. Their plan is to take over the world. And they've openly said it again and again. But too many people in America don't understand that they're doing unconventional warfare. Please go look it up. 5th gen warfare. Go look that up. Okay? 5th gen warfare and unconventional warfare against the United States of America. That's why we have so many issues right now in our nation that we have to deal with. That's why we have a lot of the issues with the fentanyl and stuff like that. That's part of that issue. That's why we have an issue with a lot of different crops and stuff like that, because of all of the stuff that they put in that is evasive and things like that. These are very serious issues, but far too few people see everything that's going on. And like I said, it's up to us to really start to stand up on the local level, because that's where we can actually make the difference, right? It's hard to say, oh, I want to change the world or anything like that. Let's start with our backyard. Let's start with our local elected officials. And let's start to get active and encourage more people to engage. So hit the like button, hit the share button. It doesn't cost you nothing, okay? Because we got to get these conversations out there. Now is the time for the people in the community to get active. What are our needs? We need food, right? But we've got a state government where I live that's doing everything they can to destroy farmers, small butcheries, and everything. What's up with that? Can we have that conversation? That's coming from our state government. That's not coming from Donald Trump. Like, that's a serious issue. They're doing everything that they can do to hurt farms, hurt beef production, hurt poultry production, and then we wonder why all the costs are high. And in the converse, Trump just put up Only Farms. I can't deal with these people, yo. Onlyfarms.gov. Check it out. Anyway, and he put that up to try to make like a joke about how he's improving farms. Like, it's a real government website and they're improving farms, and it's about everything about what they're doing for farmers and stuff like that. I think that's phenomenal and really awesome. And I'm very proud for that. I wish that they do some more. We don't have time to really cover that right now, but maybe in the next episode. And one of the things I'd like to say before we go is that if we do not understand that we need to return production here in the US onto US farms, and we need to make it feasible for farmers to produce our meat, to produce our crops here in the US, we're only hurting ourselves. Excuse me, too much dust in here. But yeah, we've got to get back. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You're tuned in to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We'll catch you next week. Be blessed and be well. Hey, everybody. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I thank you very much. Now, before I go, I do want to impart this on you. One thing that I didn't get a chance to talk about earlier, which I think is very, very important, is what's happening right now with the White House, right? So they've got a couple of things going on with the White House and their new whole ballroom situation and how they're putting a military facility underneath it or whatever the case is, right? That's nice. That's a big part of the conversation that a lot of people are talking about now. Nobody was stupid that that wasn't happening, okay? Like, I don't know how people are like, oh, I can't believe that that's happening. You didn't know that was happening? Like, when I saw that they were doing that, I was like, yeah, this is covert for them to dig some stuff up and put some new stuff underneath the White House. I just kind of thought that was just common knowledge on what was being done. But aside from that, one of the important things is the White House just launched a new app. It's the White House app, right? And the president got on the internet and he was advertising the White House app. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's what we're not doing. Nice try, Fed, you know? And for all intents and purposes, I like the majority of the policies and stuff like that for this administration. But we cannot go without remembering the fact that the government is not in our favor. It never has been. It never will be. So when they're like, oh, well, yeah, you should download this app that's from the feds, right? Download the federal app from the feds, direct from the feds, so the feds can have direct connection to you. Like, this is how it was marketed, right? Like, you got to go watch the video that he did on it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Then you look at the app itself and you go look at all the permissions that it gives you. It's dreadful. It's very, very concerning. All of the different things that it has access to. It can change and it can write stuff on your phone. It can read all your contacts, your locations at any given time. It can do this. It can go through all your files. It can do that. I'm like, no. You're trying to talk people into downloading malicious spyware on their phone automatically for the government. Don't help the government spy on you. Like, right? Like, seriously? Also, I do have a problem with this administration because this is the first administration where I felt like I want to follow a whole bunch of different department organizations online. And I don't know, I feel some type of way because you guys know how I feel about big government. But, you know, I really kind of like what some of these agencies are doing. So now I follow more departments and agencies of the government than I ever have in my life than I ever thought that I would be. So that's kind of concerning. But yeah, I'm not about that White House app. No, nah, I'm not with it. We're not doing that. Nice try, Fed. All right, we'll catch you guys later. And remember, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It don't cost you nothing. We'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action.